Hello, my name is Phil Rogers, and I'm president and owner of Air Digital Recording and Rogers Foundation of Music. Our primary, I guess you could say our primary beginning was to begin with teaching students. Started about 30 years ago in an old washed out building called a laundromat. We redid the inside. Started out with students learning, and then we developed into recording. And then one day we decided that it was time to open another studio, so we had a studio built that's in 4603 South Norfleet in Independence, Missouri. It's called Rogers Foundation of Music. At that time, I was fortunate to meet a group of people called Bloodstone, which obviously we all know was phenomenal. Worked with Willis, and worked with Harry, and worked with Charles Love for 10 years. And then from that point, we went to Ashford and Simpson, which was great. We spent 4 days in Flytime Studios with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and actually had a chance to meet Janet Jackson and work with Janet Jackson, which was wonderful. You know, as we get into this travel or this educational system, we realize that there are some incredible musicians who are strictly ear musicians who are unbelievably gifted. My background goes back from the conservatory music, where I graduated from and dealing with Juilliard and things like this. But I'm going to give credit to the home school, which is the one called the Conservatory of Music, which was the beginnings of understanding. After graduating from the conservatory, realizing that, I met a man, I'll say it this way, by the name of Freddie Dotson, and played with a group called Shades of Madness. It's a Thursday night. We're doing a recording. Freddie comes to me and says, "Okay, Phil, we want to do such and such and such and such." So I met Chicken Man, who was the guitar player. Also met Stoneface, who was the bass player, and then there's Freddie, who was the keyboard player. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Well, they were laying down the groove, and I was recording them, and Freddie said, "Hey, Phil, why don't you take a solo?" I said, "Freddie, I can read, but I have no idea what to do." Well, rather than beat me up and say this, that, he showed me my first blues scale. Wow. And so they set the groove, and I took off, and he said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hold it. Hey, give me some soul." I said, "Can you show me what the soul is?" He said, "Sure." So he did, and he took the old mini moog and just made it cry. That was my beginnings of realizing my respect for the ear musician just kind of went off the scale. This arrogant talk about if you can't read, you're not a musician is absolutely a complete lie. My respect for the ear musician this day is unbelievable, but because I was able to meet people like Bloodstone, Ashford and Simpson, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and every one of them took me in as if I was a fellow brother. It was a learning experience that I can't even begin to tell you. Long story, short story, what I'm going to do today, anyway, there's so much more we could talk about. I've developed a system which teaches students from whatever stage they are, 6 years old on up, to literally play music without ever even beginning to read it. But when we do begin to read, it's because now we have the information behind us and we totally understand how music is made. It's made from here and here and here. But there is a form that we have developed that can take anybody, I don't care if they're readers, if they're non-readers, whatever it is, and learn to play music that came out of the air. I call it God's music, because that's what it is. Anyway, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to play a little bit of things, and I can tell you more, but I'm going to play a jazz tune, an old jazz tune called Misty. We play ninths and 13ths, and et cetera, altered chords. And the things I'm playing right now, I have 9 and 10-year-olds that can play this exact same thing, just have got a lot of years of experience. So just a little synopsis here. And then Funny Valentine. few little excerpts of some scales, et cetera, et cetera. And now to give you a little bit, we're going to go into a creation on the logic to kind of give you some ideas of ideas. Okay, so what I've done is I've kind of got a track prepared, a groove track, which is nothing more than a loop that's out of logic. And it's been developed ahead of time so we could get right on it. So let me double check here and go into here now. So the groove is going to start out something like this. As you can hear. Now what I'm going to do is a typical, we know that in music we have what we call primary chords and secondary chords. Primary chords are 1, 4, 5. Secondary chords are 6, 2, 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a minor key. I know this sounds crazy. I'm going to play a C minor ninth chord. I'm going to play an A flat 6, 9, back to a C minor ninth, and to a G 7 sharp 5. Basically 1, 6, 1, 5, and then we'll play 1, 6, 5, 1. So I'm telling you ahead of time what I'm going to play, okay? And it's just going to be basic structured chords to begin with, something like, whoa, let me turn that down just a bit here. I think I'm going to go in here and change the compression a little bit, bring it down so we don't have quite the sound. Okay. Okay, given a little bit of a groove. And that was the piano part. I'm going to lay a bass part now, so you can kind of get a concept on it. The responsibility of the bass player, obviously, is the name of the chord, but it's common for a bass player to play the roots and fifths of the chord. And of course, with a little bit of a groove, it gives it more of a life. So let's go to the bass. I think I'm going to bring the volume down on the drums just a bit here. Let's go into tracks 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, and 9. Just kind of give it overall reduction. Take it back. Okay, that should give us something to work with. Now I'm going to go in here at the bass part. So now we have a groove going with the bass part. Now, I'm going to give you the, we always like to say this, do you believe a keyboardist can make a guitar sound like a guitar, a lead guitar? Most people say no. Well, I also play guitar, but we're going to do the bends of the guitar, and we're going to do the rock and roll. Okay, here we go. Next thing will be the, let's see where we are. So now we have a guitar. Let's listen to that one time. I'll bring it up just a bit. By the way, y'all, that was an E flat major scale. That's all it was. Regular old E flat major scale. Now, I'm going to take it back. Here we're going to bring it up. kind of all over the place, improv. Now, I'm also going to take the guitar out. I'm going to produce a sax solo. And again, here we go with the sax solo done on a keyboard, sounding like a saxophone, using the phrasing of the saxophone and so on like that. Okay? So here we go. Let me get the volume. So here it is for listening purpose. Okay, anyway, there's a little bit of an idea. Again, could not do this years ago. Thank heavens for the ear musician who brought me into their fold. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Ashford Simpson, and above all, the 10 years with Bloodstone, My Lands. What an incredible, incredible experience. I remember sitting beside Willis, and he would tap me on the shoulder and he'd say, "Play it in the pocket." 2 hours later, he's tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Phil, you got to put it in the pocket." I said, "Okay, Willis." So they went home that night. It was about 3 in the morning. I stayed. I finally discovered something at that time called quantizing. In other words, if I could get that drum perfectly that groove perfectly in the pocket, because at that point we didn't have loops. We had to create the kick, we had to create the snare, we had to create the hi-hat. We had to literally create everything. So I put the quantize on, and all of a sudden, everything was perfectly in time. Couldn't wait till the next night. So Willis comes in, and Charles Levin, and also Harry. Harry was a big man. We couldn't even step over. He fell asleep. He'd sleep on the carpet. Couldn't go to the bathroom because I couldn't get across him. Had to wake him up to go to the restroom. Anyway, so I said, "Got something I want you to hear, Willis." He said, "Okay." He said, "Now that's the pocket. What'd you do?" I said, "I played it a lot until I got it right." I said, No. I discovered something called quantizing. Well, guess what? From that point on, our sessions went down from 10 hours a day to 9 hours and 58 minutes. No, I'm kidding. Basically, what a great group of people. Well, Willis passed in 2002, and we had a release going out, and he had done a version of, what was it? Amazing Grace, but we never got it out. He wanted to put something out with that, but he died, and at that point, what a loss. Anyway, I haven't heard from Harry or Charles Love or anybody from that point. They had several concerts they were supposed to do. Didn't happen. So anyway, that's a little bit about what's going on. And then working with Jimmy Jam, man. So anyway, you all, I'm Phil Rogers of Rogers Foundation Music for Air Digital Recording. What we do here, I work with Dwayne Baldwin. We have a facility here that is well educated and well caring about the musicians. We're not fancy. We have the sophisticated equipment. The rooms aren't beautified. But what we know here and what we can do here is equal to anything else in LA, in Nashville, doesn't matter. And we cater to our musicians, and what we can do for you is untouched. So just want to let you know, don't walk in here expecting beautiful things, but what we know is what we spend our money on to get it ready for you all, so we can give you the best of everything. So that's where we are. Anyway, it's great to talk to you and let you know a little bit about Rogers Foundation and Air Digital Recording. If you have any calls or questions, I'm going to give you my phone number, 816-507-9096. 816-507-9096. We're located at 4603 South Norfleet, Norfleet, in Independence, Missouri, 64055. Website www.macmate, macmate.me Phil Rogers Music, PhilRogersMusic.com. And that's all lowercase. If you have any questions or calls you need to make, I'll take you on a private tour. We'll talk to you, do anything you all need to do. We're definitely here to welcome you. Have a great week and day and year and everything else, and I'll be glad. I can't wait to hear from you. I'll say it that way. Thank you for everything.